Hey guys, it's your boy Ahmed from Cologne Kingdom, and today we're going to be looking at the Acqua di Gio Profumo. Now, this is a very well known, very well liked fragrance, but unfortunately, it's been discontinued. I think during 2020, just during the beginning of COVID, Giorgio Armani stopped selling this. So, a lot of people want to know, what are alternatives to this? Now, there are fragrances that are copies or clones that basically look at this fragrance and they try to copy it as best as they can. And then there are fragrances that smell very similar to this. They have a lot of similarities with the DNA, but they have their own individuality and their uniqueness to them as well. So we're going to be looking at both. We're going to be looking at a couple of clone dupes of the Profumo, and we're also going to be looking at fragrances that just smell pretty similar. So first, let's start off with the clones. So the first up on the list is the Jorge di Profumo. Now, I'm not even kidding. That is its name. They looked at the word Giorgio Armani. Instead of the Gio, they took the Giorgio and they called it Giorgio di Profumo. I think these guys are going to get sued sooner or later. But as of now, 2024, they still exist and they're still selling. I've only tried this a couple of times and I thought it was very funny, but I thought that the performance overall was very good. So when you first smell it, the first 1 or 2 minutes, there's differences. It's not as citrusy, but when you put it on your skin and you let it last for about 5, 10, or a couple of hours, it smells almost identical. So the incense, the patchouli, the bitterness, the masculinity of the Profumo exists. So it's as subtle, it's as good. In terms of the performance, very, very good as well. That was surprising. The performance, usually with this, I get about 6 to 7 to 8 hours of longevity. I tried that, like I said, only twice, but again, about 6 to 7 hours. The power was good, it was subtle. But the biggest, I think, positive of it was the price. So the price is about, I think, £20 in the UK. I'm guessing about $30 in the US. So the price is very good. The negative to it, I would say, is that it's a copycat. Even though it manages to somehow copy the fragrance about 90 to 95%. Like I said, it's not as citrusy in the beginning, but the quality is there. But it's a copy. I don't like buying copy fragrances. I didn't buy it, even though it was very good, because I have the real one, of course. In fact, for most of these, I'm going to suggest I don't have them. Some of them I do, but I have them back home in London. Right now, I'm at university, so I don't have any of them. I'm just talking about them and remembering what they smell like. But the George Di Profumo, the copy, I don't like owning copycat fragrances. I prefer having the original, but there's nothing wrong with copycat fragrances, guys. This is the best. If you're just looking for a fragrance that is as similar to this one, Jorge Di Profumo, end the video there. That's the best. Lattafa Suqraat. Now, I speak a lot about Lattafa. Lattafa is an Arabian fragrance house. They're known for producing copycat fragrances. You look at the Lattafa Assad and the Dio Sauvage Elixir, you look at Lattafa Alhambra and Angel Share, and they usually do a very good job. Now it's Suqraat, which obviously tries to copy the Profumo. Now, the Suqraat is very interesting. With the previous clone, we spoke about how the opening was very different, but the dry down was similar. This one is the opposite. So the opening notes are identical. The bergamot, the aquatic notes of the opening initial scent is very, very similar. So straight off the bottle, when you smell it like that, it gives the exact same scent as this, which is very impressive. But the dry down is very different. The way it's different is that the Suqraat is more lavender, it's more amber, it's more floral, it's a lot lighter. So it's not as masculine as the Profumo with its patchouli and its incest. It's not as bitter. So it's just a floral, less masculine take on the Profumo, but it's still very similar, especially the opening notes. When you take the Suqraat and you smell it like that, guys, it's going to smell exactly like the Profumo. So in that sense, it's the same. The dry down, it's just pretty different. So overall, I think the scent is about 60 to 70% similar. The performance isn't good either, which really surprised me because Lattafa is known for great performances, longevity, sillage. It didn't seem to have that with this one for some reason, which was interesting. But yeah, Lattafa Suqraat is another one. So now we're going to go for fragrances that, in my opinion, aren't clones, but they're fragrances that smell very similar to the Profumo, but they have their own uniqueness to them first. So first we're going to go for Jazzab Silver Art. Jazzab Silver Art Al Zafran. Right, so Al Zafran is the fragrance house. Again, it's a bit similar to Lattafa, it's an Arabian fragrance house that often takes inspiration from very popular, French or Italian fragrance houses. But what I like about Al Zaafaran is that they have their own spin on it, and they did the same thing with Jazzab Silva Art. I really struggle to say the name. It's a very long name. Let's just call it Silva. Okay. So Silva is a very good fragrance. The opening is very citrusy. It's a different type of citrus with the Profumo. The Profumo is bergamot. The bergamot is a bitter type of bitter type of citrus. This one has the more traditional citrus. It has the orange, the lime, the lemon, which is very, very nice. In terms of the dry down, it's quite different as well. So the incense is very prominent in this. It gives it its smoothness and it holds the fragrance well together. Silva Art has the incense as well, which is very good. But what's different is that they've taken out the patchouli and they've put in wood. They've put in vetiver and sandalwood. That's interesting because the patchouli is for me the most important note in this. Now we spoke about the Lattafa Suqraat. The Lattafa Suqraat took out the patchouli and it was no longer masculine. Silver art manages to stay masculine because wood is very, very masculine. So it's a smoother, more subtle type of masculine. And that's why I think it's different, is because this is why it's not a clone. Because if you take out the patchouli, it really can't be this anymore. It can't, it's so different in the dry down, but it's subtle as well. Um, it's a very, very good substitute. Next up, we have Perry Ellis 360 for men. Now, this one is very unique. It's very interesting. It's citrusy in the beginning, but what's different about this is that it has a lot of spice, coriander, cinnamon, pepper. I'm not kidding. Every spice you can think of, Perry Ellis 360 probably has it. So it's very citrusy. It's very spicy. The patchouli is there as well, which is why it's very similar to the Profumo. But what's different about this, what I remember specifically about the 360, is that there's no aquaticness to it. What I like about this is the aquatic notes. That's what makes it very summer. The 360 for men, it's a summer scent. It's very subtle, and that's why it's good comparison to this, because you can wear this to work. You can wear this, going out as a casual sort of signature scent, but without that aquatic notes. That's the biggest difference with the Profumo. It's just a bit more spicy, but it's a very unique scent. The performance is very good. The price is very good. In fact, with all of these fragrances, the price is great. But yeah, the 360 for men is just a spicy take on the Profumo. Now, last up on the list, we have the Ralph Lauren Deep Blue for Men, right? Blue Deep for Men. This is the fragrance that I use the most. Of all of these fragrances that I'm suggesting, in my opinion, I've saved the best to last. However, it's the most different to the Profumo. Now, it's a very sweet, citrusy, aquatic scent. So it's very similar in terms of the citrus and the aquatic notes it shares with this. So it's a very summer fragrance as well, but it doesn't have that patchouli. Instead, it has a lot of ambroxan, which is a lot smoother, but still pretty masculine. The difference with the Ralph Lauren is that I would say it's a great substitute for this for younger guys, right? So for this, it's a very gentleman scent. This is why it's so unique, is that it's very masculine. If you're wearing, if you're going to work, if you're an older guy, I would say later 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you can pull this off very well. Whereas the Ralph Lauren Blue Deep, what's special about this, I think, is for young guys. It's just a lot sweeter. It's a bit, I don't know, lighter in that sense. But it's also for the summer. It's a very, very nice fragrance. It's about £30 in the UK now for the 40 ml. For the full bottle, it's about £50. So it's the most expensive fragrance on this list. But my God, guys, it's very, very good. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me now. It's at home in London. I'm at university now, and it's not summer yet, so I don't need it. But when it gets to summer, this is one of the fragrances that I use the most. I use a lot of other summer fragrances. We did a video on that linked below. But this is the one that's most different to Profumo. But it's just a version of it for younger guys, I would say. If you're in your 40s or 50s, I don't think the Ralph Lauren fragrance will work as well. I think then maybe some of the other suggestions would work well. But the Ralph Lauren Blue Deep is a marvelous, marvelous scent. So guys, that's all of the dupes, clones, and fragrances similar to the Profumo that I have. If you guys have any different, please comment below. I would love to hear it. Yeah, guys, and thank you for watching. All the best.